This is basically a secondary feature or continuation from the earlier core features class, and it has a specific focus. It's basically broken up into 3 different sections. The first section, which is actually going to be a pretty long section, it's got about be here before we have our first break for a good 45 minutes or so, maybe even longer. It's going to be all about the bed inventory, basically usage, checking people in and out of the beds, and maintenance surrounding that. Then we'll go into take a break, then we'll go into a referral section, and then we'll finish up with wait list. As with all the other classes, we always mention that there's so much packed into the system. We'll try, we always try to cover as much as we can during the trainings, but we have a bunch of system feature guides specific to these trainings that we'll talk about at the end of the training class. Data collection, it is required. How to use requires the use of HMI system, compatible database for collection of ESG, COC, SHP, shelter-plus care, a whole bunch of state and federally funded programs. The system does support the collection of victims of domestic violence. However, any service provider as defined by VAWA is still prohibited from entering their client data into the PHMIS system per applicable state laws. Just want to go over that, make sure everybody got that. Here's the class agenda. Of course, we're going over the housing inventory. That'll be lion's share of the beginning part. I'm going to go over the inventory check-in, check-out, basically the usage part of it. Go over some management tools, go over a very interactive inventory review screen. Then we'll jump into our collaborative tools with client referrals, which provide the ability to do reservations, wait list requests, and then finally the agency wait list. As I said before, it assumes that all attendees are taking the core features training class, and you basically understand the basic entry process in the system, basically the intake for the new clients, especially in regards to the program events, enrollment, and exit. We're going to use a lot of those themes, basic features as a continuation, and we're going to kind of explain things as if you already know those core features. It's all inventory and basically referrals and wait lists is what you're going to see today. When organizations accurately define and maintain their housing inventories, this will allow for residential program participants to be checked in and out of those inventory items to effectively track lengths of stay, actual inventory usage, and hopefully it can be used for numerous reports such as APRs, and also eventually once we get everybody on board, hopefully everybody on board, things like AHAR, HIC and PIT counts will be a lot easier using this method. This does not cover any kind of inventory setup or configuration processes. This is going to assume that all inventory items have been properly created or maintained. Basically, all that setup process is an agency manager type function. We are going to cover all that tomorrow morning, the Wednesday and Thursday morning. We're dealing with all the agency manager functions, and that will be a large portion of that class. Finally, please note that this bed management model, kind of daily bed features, was designed to be used and maintained in real time. Now, while the system will allow for some backfilling of past data or fixing past data, we do recommend tracking all household stays and inventory occupancy on a daily basis. It's basically what it's designed to do. And with a lot of things like collaborative tools, referrals, wait list, having accurate inventory to kind of transfer or basically be able to broadcast to other agencies is pretty pivotal to sharing information throughout the system. The class will cover the process of checking clients in and out of, basically we have 3 different inventory items that can be created and maintained. They're beds, units which are basically containers for beds, and vouchers. A couple different processes that can be used for those. Process of putting a person into a vacant or open bed, basic inventory item is referred to as a check-in, and conversely, the process of exiting or removing a person from an inventory item is known as a check-out. So I just want to put those terms up front because we're going to use them a lot throughout this class. Now, once the basics are covered of checking people in and checking people out, that's when we're going to go over a bunch of advanced features that should really help users, all users of the agency, really manage their daily inventory and agency inventory records. Housing inventory in the system is set up and defined on a per residential program and site basis. Now, while most programs in the system will have, a lot of them just have a single program and a site, because programs are basically the program that's administrated, while site is kind of changed to be, you know, the actual physical location where the program is being administered. A lot of them are one-to-one, but for those residential programs, we allow for them to create and define multiple sites, if you so choose. Every program and site combination or association will have their own inventory. And basically, inventory gets created on the fly. There's nothing needs to be done. And residential programs that can maintain housing inventory include the following types, which are emergency shelters, transitional housing programs, permanent supportive housing programs, permanent housing, safe havens, as well as a couple VA-funded programs, which are VASH and VA GVP, which is Grant Per Diem, which is actually a type of transitional housing program. Each housing inventory record will have a specific status associated with it. It denotes its current state, and only inventories with a status of active. Each record will have active. They can also have other statuses such as unconfigured, no inventory, expired, but only the active inventories can actually be used to track client stays. Basically, an inventory becomes active once it has at least one inventory item that is configured and ready for usage. So if you're kind of working with your agency and you notice that, you know, an inventory record should be configured but it's not, or you should have extra ones, that's something to bring up with agency managers since they handle all the configuration. Some inventory stay guidelines before we get into the process. Housing inventory, as of right now, can only be used within a program stay. It's kind of all connected. It's another kind of a service provided within a program stay. And no client, you can't be independently checked into a bed without being in a residential program. A couple notes about the day. Also, the inventory stay, kind of like services that we talked about, must occur during that program participation time period. So any check-in dates cannot occur prior to the program entry date, and conversely, checkout dates also cannot occur after the program exit date. So if anybody tries to put in dates like that, the system will definitely catch those and throw up validation messages as you see on the screen. Another inventory stay guideline we want to talk about to allow all current and historical stays to be reported correctly and allow inventory usage to be calculated properly in the system. Will not allow, there's a couple overlap rules that kind of come on the case. Both one on the client side, one on the inventory item side. A client cannot occupy more than one inventory item at the same time. It's basically, you know, when you're doing, kind of like with program stays, when you're doing inventory stays, they're all based on dates, you know, when they checked in, when they checked out. So during that client's check-in time, he can't be in more than one bed, unit, or voucher at one time. If you try to log in, you know, check in someone, a client into another bed, it'll basically catch you and flash the message up on the screen. Same thing goes for actual inventory items. More than two people can't be in the same bed at the same time. Same thing with unit beds. If that happens or occurs, the system will definitely has a lot of validation in there to catch overlaps to make sure that everything is the usage is properly done. The one exception to that is vouchers, since vouchers is kind of an open item. It does allow multiple people to be simultaneously checked into it, and that's basically one exception, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about specific check-in processes. The check-in process, stated previously, when you put someone into an inventory item, it's called a check-in, and there's two basic ways to do it in the system. There's actually three. We added a third way. But the two main ways to do it kind of in real time is the program enrollment. It actually embeds the check-in function in the final step of the entry process. So if you're enrolling people into a residential program, the system, and if you have active inventory, the system will go ahead and allow you to do it all in the same step. Now, of course, the system also allows for what we have a bed management model created. Every residential program within the program record has the ability, it's got a bunch of features associated. One of them is allows for check-ins after the enrollment. As with the other actions in the system, we're going toward household-based processes. Inventory processes, of course, allow multiple members to be simultaneously checked in to their single inventory items as well. Now, we recommend using the bed check-in feature within the enrollment process, especially when the client's inventory stay is going to specifically mirror that program stay, and you're going to be putting them in, a unit for, their whole program stay. We definitely recommend using that because it's easily embedded. It just adds to the program setup, which you need to do or program enrollment, which you need to do everybody anyway. It kind of reduces any additional step that's needed. We're going to kind of talk about these steps here. There's the program enrollment. Now, when enrolling a client into a residential program, the inventory stay information is included. Once you get to this final screen here, any residential program basically will have an extra option down here. It's basically called the bed check-in method. And depending on what you check here, the system will basically do different things with these clients. Now, the logic kind of works the same way as the enrollment, where you have the household grid up here, and depending on who you check, you can include all clients, one of the clients. The system will continue to loop around during that process. While during the program stuff, we talked about how you can share inventory stuff or program enrollment stuff. Same thing is true of the inventory stuff. So you have a lot of flexibility for how you not only enroll people in the programs, but how you check them into inventory. So it kind of goes hand in hand with both of these processes. Now, with the bed check-in method, it consists of 3 basic selections, and it must be answered for all residential programs. And they're basically none, quick, and detailed. Those are the 3 options that you have, and we'll go over those in the next slide. But those residential programs that do not have any active inventory, the system basically kind of pulls the program's inventory that you're looking at, and if there isn't any active stuff, you'll actually come to it, and the bed check-in method will be defaulted to not active. Basically, you're not allowed to use inventory at that time. Maybe you can enroll them at a later time once the inventory has been configured. The check-in methods, as I said before, they're none, quick, and detailed. None is pretty straightforward. That indicates that none of the selected clients will be checked into any inventory during the enrollment process. It basically skips any inventory stuff and basically just performs the enrollments. Then quick and detailed methods, now they both indicate that, the selected clients during the process are going, it basically says, tells the system, hey, I want to do some inventory. I want to put these guys into some inventory. But they differ a little bit in each process. Quick, pretty much exactly as it sounds, and it basically provides a briefer way to place the selected clients into inventory and should be used when you're looking for a non-specific check-in. Needs to be performed when the stay is going to exactly mirror the program stay. Because what the quick does is basically you pick a specific type. Hey, I want to put them in bed. Hey, I want to put them in units. But it doesn't allow you to pick, bed 1, bed 2. It just is smart enough to go, hey, I want to put all the selected clients into the next available item. So if you don't really care where they go, you just want to get them in, that's a perfect option for you there. Now, detailed is kind of the exact opposite, and not only lets you pick the type, beds, but it actually allows you to put each person that you selected into an actual inventory item. It is more in-depth, takes a little more, a couple steps, but it does provide a lot of precision and flexibility when managing your inventory. Now, once you've selected either quick or detailed, the first thing that the system is going to prompt you for is the check-in date. And the check-in date basically denotes the first day of the inventory stay, and it's kind of a global feature again. All the selected clients will basically share the same inventory stay. Once you enter that in, basically all you have to do is hit a next button here, and basically the system will take you to the next step. After you've entered in the check-in date, and basically after it's entered, the check-in date basically gets locked in. See here, if at any time you want to change that date, or you made a mistake, or the inventory that you see doesn't meet whatever that you want to see, you can just hit the clear check-in date. Now it will reset anything you've done, but it will clear that field and allow you to, re-enter a new check-in date. But directly below that, the next thing that will be asked to be selected is what we call the bed type. Now these are basically, the system has 4 different kinds of inventory items that can be configured. 2 of them are bed types. You've got facility beds, non-facility beds, units, and vouchers. Now, depending on which one you select, basically that'll kind of, the system will dynamically build the next screens depending on that item and depending on the requirements of those items. Now, the system also builds this bed type selection list dynamically depending on, the status of your current inventory, what's configured, what's filled, that sort of thing. It only shows inventory types that A, are available in your inventory, and B, have the ability to meet the demand of your selected clients. Kind of give you an example here. You might have 3 clients that you want to try to enroll into inventory, but you may only have 2 available beds. Now, the system will look at it and say, well, since every client selected needs to go into some inventory during this process, it knows, hey, the beds aren't going to meet this person's, these clients' needs, so it'll automatically take it out of the bed type list. Now, any bed type that is pulled out of the bed type list, it'll flash a message if any of them are removed, and it'll say the following inventory types are not available because they're full, unconfigured, or future stays have been noticed. And then it'll show basically the bed type. Now, at this point in time, you can continue with the process. You can, if you're looking for a specific bed type, you can, go back and just enroll them into the program and then kind of deal with the inventory later. Or you can go and unselect certain clients so that you can do it maybe one at a time. So you got a lot of flexibility here depending on what kind of inventory needs these clients have. Now, depending on the bed type, and I actually got a quick note here about the quick method. As we said before, the quick method, basically all you have to do is select the type, and then the system will basically automatically place them into, and kind of what it does is it's the next available chronological bed that was completed. Once you've selected the bed type, that's pretty much it. All you have to do is hit the Save button right below it, and the system will basically perform both the enrollment and check the clients into the bed all in one process. Pretty quick and easy. However, for the detailed method, it takes it a little bit further and does require unique configuration. And depending on the type you pick, and we'll kind of go over the different types there, it asks for a little bit different information. Now, for facility or non-facility beds, which are, basically beds, so whichever one's picked, it's going to have the same interface. It'll basically, depending on the number of clients that are included during this enrollment check-in loop, it'll dynamically build the screen here depending on the number. It could be 1 person, could be 10 people, and each one of them will have a little select a bed selection next to them. That'll basically, the system will have all the vacant and open beds that these clients can be checked into. Again, it builds them dynamically, so any bed that's currently filled, of course, won't be available. And you basically assign each person a bed from the drop-down list. As you can see, you put bed 8 for this person, bed 9 for that person, and it's pretty much provides a lot of flexibility here. One thing to note is when you do assign a bed to a person, the system doesn't rebuild the list. Basically, each list just shows the complete set of vacant items. So be careful not to select, bed 9 to more than 1 person. If you do that, the system will catch it and kind of bring up an error and say, hey, you put 2 people in the same bed, but that's just something to notice. Also, within these lists, for both beds, units, and vouchers, the system basically displays the name of the bed or the inventory item. Now, when an inventory item is created by default, it basically gives it, whatever the item is plus its ID number. So it could be, bed 333, bed 334. Those can always be renamed. So this is something we'll cover in agency manager training, but we definitely recommend people specifically naming their inventory because it'll make this process a lot easier so they don't have to guess, where's bed 11 again? You can name it bed, 3 downstairs or however you want to name it for your agency or program. With units, units is probably the most in-depth because it not only entails selecting the specific unit, but also the beds within the unit. It's kind of a 2-step process. First thing that comes up, basically you need to put all the clients into an individual unit. At this point in time, the system doesn't allow you to split them up and put them in multiple units. Again, that's where you need to use the flexibility of the enrollment loop if you want to put them in multiple units. So basically, you select it from the drop-down list, and once you've selected the unit, it will basically automatically assign each client a bed within that unit. As I explained before, units basically don't hold any real configuration. They don't have a household type or anything like that. It's basically a container to configure beds within those units. So with any unit, you're actually putting the people in the beds within the unit, not just the unit itself. So that's how it kind of works throughout the system. Now, even though they're automatically assigned to each person, don't worry, you can always, if you don't like the bed arrangement, you say, hey, I want to put this person in bed 4. You can go ahead and do that. Basically, each drop-down will have all the beds in the unit. You can change that around to however you like for the assignments. Once you're done there, you basically hit save, and that's how you configure, put people into a unit. Now, with units, there is some cases, there could be a prompt that needs to be completed. Not there for every unit. But what it does is if the unit, once you do the actual check-in, if the total number of beds in the unit aren't completely filled, basically the unit capacity is more than the actual clients that are enrolled in it, the system asks a secondary question that basically says, should this unit be considered full? Because the system's really not sure. You have a 4-person unit, but you only put 3 in it. The system's saying, hey, well, what should we do with it? If you answer, and it basically needs to be answered with a yes or no question, if you answer yes, that basically means the system will consider that unit as full and closed out. And basically, no other people will be able to be put into that unit until, of course, until it becomes vacant again for that vacant bed. However, if you do want to leave that unit open for additional clients to be put into the other beds in the unit, you can select no. Now, at this point, once you've answered that question, basically, that's not something that's set in stone. We actually have some options on the review screen that allow you to change that. So don't be afraid that if you set it and then you realize, oh, I wanted to set it the other way, you do have the ability to change that after the fact, and we'll show you during the management feature of the training. Okay, vouchers. Vouchers kind of mimics beds, but it's almost like a hybrid of units. Basically, you just select the single voucher, open vacant vouchers that you want to assign all the clients to. Like I said, this is kind of a hybrid where this is the only item where you can actually put multiple clients into a single voucher, because vouchers are one of those things that are kind of virtual payments for housing, whether it's a shelter, hotel, motel voucher, or even a temporary housing voucher. And when you create it, you're not sure if it's going to be for 1 person or 4 people or 8 people. The system kind of leaves it open, allows you guys to control what you want to do with it. Now, with vouchers, it also prompts. And now, unlike units that only does it under certain situations, vouchers actually prompts a secondary question every time that should this voucher be considered closed to additional persons? Again, because the system's not sure and it is an open inventory item, kind of asks this question. And the answer is kind of the same. If you answer yes, that means that that voucher is basically closed out and not available for any more people to be put into it. If you select no, it does leave it open for additional persons to be checked into it. And as with the unit full, the voucher closed feature can be altered after the fact on the review screen as well. And that's pretty much it. That's how you configure and put, along with the enrollment, to also proceed with bed check-in during the enrollment process. It's pretty quick and easy, kind of involved in that same process. Now, we do have what we call a bed management module before we get into the actual features here within it that is available and present at the bottom of the screen anytime you open up a residential program. Now, this area provides information on the current client status, their household information, and it also provides utilities to actually do check-ins, check-outs, also provides, see that bed history tool here? That's a very in-depth tool that allows a lot of viewing of historical closed-out stays and editing that we'll get into as well. Basically, every person will have a couple different statuses. They'll be not checked in, means they're not in inventory, or their status could be checked in which they are currently in inventory. Now, along with all the other processes, the system also shows household information along inside this bed management model. So anybody that's checked into a residential program with a household, it'll show the household name along with all the household information by default. It'll show their names, and also if they're in inventory, it'll show their inventory information as well, because as I'll show you, it allows household-based check-ins and check-outs. Now, with these households, we had to be very particular with, what information we showed with households, because even if a client is currently enrolled in a household with other members, only if those other household members are within or enrolled in that residential program with them, plus they have the exact same stay dates, which means both entry and exit dates, only under that situation will they show up in this grid. Now, if you have other household members that are in the program but don't match the dates, you'll basically see a little message here that says, hey, you got other household clients, but they kind of need their inventory done separately. And the reason we did this is because of the whole multiple stays where people can be enrolled in the multiple programs. Unless the stay dates are exactly the same, when we do inventory functions, we have to know which record to attach it to. And unless they're exactly the same, it could be a previous stay or previous 2 stays ago. We didn't want to, switch up inventory with different program stays. Now, as we said, there is the functions directly within this bed management module, which you can do individually or with a household. If you're an individual person, you basically just click the check-in button. It's always available when the status is not checked in. Basically takes you through the process. Now, if you do have household members available, if you want to include them in whatever process you're doing, basically you just check these boxes. You need to make sure you check the household member before you do the process. Then once you hit check-in, basically it'll take whatever client you're on plus those household clients into the process. Now, of course, whatever process you're doing, if you're doing a check-in, the clients can't be in a current inventory item or they won't be allowed to be checked. Then it will kind of take you to a separate screen where the focus is just on checking people into a household or into a inventory item, and it basically follows the same exact rules as the detailed check-in method. Basically, it's going to ask you for a date. When you continue on, it'll then ask you for a bed type, and then depending on the bed type, the system will dynamically build the screen depending on the number of clients included. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. It's exactly the same as the enrollment process. But here's just a notice here, the inventory review screen. We basically have links. Not only can you get that to that from your start page, but whenever you're doing an inventory process or possibly could do an inventory process, whether it's a program enrollment, program exit, or standalone, we always allow this inventory review screen to be here. That when selected, we'll actually load the review screen in real time in a brand new window. So it allows you to kind of supplement that information you're doing, because you might get to the check-in and go, oh yeah, which beds are open, what do I want to put them in? That screen you can just go ahead and load, get a quick reference point, and continue with the process. Okay, now we're going to go with the actual checkout process within the standalone mode, and it pretty much is provided kind of the same areas as the check-in. It can be performed during the checkout. It's basically, we got functionality embedded within the exit process for residential programs. Then, of course, within the bed management module, also allows for checkout processes to occur, and both of them, of course, do allow for multiple household members to be included in all these processes. Now, one note about the exit, if you're performing a program exit for a residential program and you have clients still checked in the inventory, at that point in time, the system will require them to be checked out prior to completing the process. So basically, we want to make sure everybody knows that, when you're exiting guys from the program, clients can't, they may still physically be in the inventory item for certain programs, but from a data collection standpoint, they cannot be. The exit process pretty much mirrors that of the enrollment. Basically, you've got the household selection grid, whichever ones you select, all the different combinations that the system will loop through doing the exit process. Now, if you check any client that is currently still in inventory that needs to be checked out, the system will basically pop up and disappear this inventory checkout date. The checkout process is immensely easier than the check-in date. Check-in process is basically the system is just needs a date. What it will do is, depending on the selected clients, it'll basically check them out all with the same checkout date. It's basically like the check-in, they share the same date. So if you need to check out clients or exit clients with different checkout dates, you need to use the basic looping functionality for that to occur. Now, unlike the actual check-ins that only allows people to all be put in like the same unit, same voucher, that sort of thing, when you're checking people out, the system doesn't really care what items they're in. You could have one guy in a bed, one guy in a unit, and one guy in a voucher. I mean, regardless of how real world that'll happen or not, the system, as long as it collects a date, it'll check them all out of whatever inventory item they're in at that time. So you don't need to worry about doing things based on what item people are in. The system will handle that for you. With the standalone process, basically, pretty much as simple. Anybody that's currently checked into inventory will have that status, and they'll basically, for that person you're looking at, will basically have the inventory information here loaded. It'll show the bed type, the name, and when they were checked into. Of course, if, you know, with the household members, it'll have the grid, as well as their entry dates, check-in dates, bed names, and bed types. So basically, you get a glimpse at the information they have. Basically, you just hit the checkout. Same thing with the household. If you want them included in this process, you need to make sure you check them before you hit that checkout box. Once that's done, it kind of takes you to a separate, secondary process that basically just focuses on this checkout, and pretty much all that's required is a date. Once you enter in the date, hit the checkout button again, and that's pretty much the process. That's it. Now we're going to go into, now that we know kind of how to put people in, take people out of beds in a couple different ways, we're going to go over some tools within the system that we should provide some assistance to overseeing their inventory. Also, and that's the inventory review screen. We think it's a very powerful tool. It's all done in real time, seeing all the aspects of an inventory record, as well as the bed management module we showed does have check-in and check-out features. It also assists of a couple other data collection processes, for backfilling of data, fixing, incorrect information, and we'll kind of go into that as well. Inventory review screen, that is basically developed to assist all users to provide real-time interface to track current inventory availability and usage. Everybody on their start menu or their start page, any user that has access to a residential program will also have corresponding access to that program's inventory. By clicking on these links on the start page, it'll automatically load the review screen. We also showed you the links that are within the program record page to bring up. Shows a lot of good information there. Now this kind of shows you what the inventory review screen looks like when it's loaded. Since the system kind of breaks up the inventory into 4 different inventory or bed types, that's how the inventory review screen displays them. Up at the top of the screen, there'll basically be 4 different tabs. They'll be there for every inventory, whether you have it defined or not. It's basically did that for consistency. You've got your facility beds, non-facility beds, units, and vouchers. Each one of them display a little bit of different information based on unique traits to each one, and we'll kind of go over those further in the class. But the inventory items, every single inventory item that's available for your program will be displayed on this screen. It's basically only items that are available configured for inventory check-ins. So if you have inventory that are still not configured or closed out, they will not appear on this screen. It's kind of a real-time snapshot of all your useful inventory. Every single item will appear as a button. Basically beds, unit beds, as well as vouchers all show a button, and they're basically denoted by a caption, basically their name. Again, one of the reasons to specifically name your inventory items, that's helpful here as well. A couple features with the review screen. It also not just provides general information about your inventory. There's a lot of drill down screens. We actually developed a pretty interesting pop-up kind of feature within the system that when you click on an individual inventory item, whether it's a bed or a voucher, by just click on the button, it'll actually pop up information that's kind of the physical or setup configuration information about that item. It'll show things like the ID, the name, the bed type, its availability, household type, whether it's an HMIS participating. Also, it'll show when the inventory, the start date of it was. And then it'll also show the basic status of it, whether it's occupied, whether it's vacant, and also show information on how long it's been occupied, the last time it's been occupied. It also has a little description area that you can use or not use. That's optional depending on what you want to put in there. So it's very good information to show based on every inventory item. Now, just as a note, the system is very flexible, and a lot of this information, like availability, house type, HMIS participating, those are during the, done during the setup, and they are required data elements that HUD requires us to collect. But we don't put any inhibit anything in there. So just because a bed, has a household type of adults only, doesn't mean you just have to put adults in it. It's basically just an estimated label of what you think that bed's going to be used, but we don't put any restrictions on it. Same thing with HMIS participating. If you don't put it, if you say, hey, it's not HMIS participating, you can still use it. And what we'd like to do at the, once inventory gets rolling is be able to produce reports that basically provide this information to you on not only a setup base, but a true usage base for everyone. Not only along with the inventory setup information that it provides, it actually, and this is one of the neater parts of the actual review screen, it displays real-time information on each item's current status in regards to client usage. Inventory items that are currently empty, which is also referred to the system as vacant, and available for check-in. Basically, you'll see here, like bed 3, 3804 and 3805, they're vacant. If you don't have any icons next to them, you know that, hey, I can put people in them. However, those items that are currently occupied have basically one of two little icon designations, kind of people icons by them. So anytime you see a little blue guy or this multicolored family, you'll know someone is actively occupying that bed. Now, depending on the person that's occupying it, the icons change a little bit. Anybody that's a single person, and just a note here, it doesn't, those icon designations aren't who is currently occupying the bed. It's basically the relationship of the person occupying the bed to other people in the program. So anytime you see a little blue guy there, a little blue icon, that means that the person occupying this bed is basically an individual. They're by themselves, they're either in a system household or they're in a manual household all by themselves. Basically, when you're dealing with that person, that's all you need to work with. However, if you see the household identification, now that doesn't mean there's a whole household in a bed, because that can't really happen, but that means that the person in that bed is here in this program with other household members. As you can see here, it's probably, all 4 of these beds are probably occupied by the same household. It basically gives you an indication that, hey, when you're looking at that person or dealing with that person, you can't just deal with that person singularly. You probably need to deal with that person and other household members jointly. Now, with these icons, those showed just a quick reference. So whenever you load the review screen, you can quickly just get a quick glance idea of what's occupied and who's in them. We actually went a little bit further and also provide even more drilled down information for these occupancies. Of course we did. You can actually click on these individual icons, basically the single person or the household, people icons, and the system again will pop up another window that this time provides information on the actual occupant in the bed. What it will show is it basically shows, how long they've been occupied, what the household is, and it kind of shows 2 different things. If it's just a single person, it basically shows who's occupying the bed. You know, hey, you know, Bill Johnson, who's 30, is directly in bed 3800. However, if there are a little household icon and they're there with household members, it'll also show all the household members as well as their age and the inventory they're in as well. So you know not only is Bill in this certain bed, you know the 3 household members are in these 3 beds as well. So it provides a lot of information with a click of a button for all your inventory and beds. Now what we also hear is we got a little checkout tool. That's a nice little thing to use. So if you know you're on this inventory item in the review screen, you go, oh, I forgot, I need to check this guy out. Go ahead and click this button, and it doesn't actually perform the checkout. It's more of a shortcut to take you to the checkout screen. What it'll actually do is take you to the program they're in and kind of take you right to the bed management module, so you can use the standalone checkout features. Whether you want to include household members or not, it's up to your choice, but that's what that option will do and is available for all users. Okay, now a little bit, like I said, they have a little bit different traits. I'm kind of going to show you each of the different ones. Facility, non-facility beds, basically the same as throughout the whole training, so we're going to jointly explain them here. Basically, there's broken up into 3 different areas. You'll show your year-round beds, seasonal beds, or overflow beds, and depending on their specific availability, they'll be shown under their specific area. Now, if you don't have any seasonal or overflow, you'll basically have a little, you know, no beds defined, and that's not anything you have to worry about. So that's how they're kind of broken up, both of those. So, and one note is with the seasonal and overflow, we followed the HUD data standards pretty tightly there, that seasonal and overflow beds can only be entered and configured for emergency shelter programs. So unless you're in an emergency shelter program, you basically won't have to worry about those. Now, one note here is although you can do a quick scan of what's available, what's occupied, we also here at the top of every screen basically provide almost like a little summary table that show you the total number of beds, total occupied, vacant, as well as reserved. So that's a nice little quick snapshot or quick information that you can glean from when looking at the review screen. All right, now we're going to go to units. Units are displayed probably a little bit differently than any of the other ones. Each unit that's displayed will basically just have a bold header almost with its name here. And since we kind of said before, units are just containers for bed. They don't really hold any configuration information. All the beds that have been configured and associated to that unit are basically shown underneath. So you're going to have to glean the actual bed configuration as well as the occupancy information, not from the unit, but from the individual beds of that unit. Now, I remember back during the check-in stage, we kind of talked about that full, not full kind of toggle and said, hey, don't worry, we have those options later. When looking at occupied beds, of course, if a bed's not occupied, it can't be full. But here's basically the options depending on what you answered, if it's full or not. Of course, if you answered full, the box will be checked. If it's not, it'll be unchecked. The system allows you to actually toggle these in real time anytime, you know, you need to make a change. Maybe you set an inventory, a unit as full accidentally, or you changed your mind and you want to put someone in here. You can come to the screen, uncheck the box, and it's all done in real time. You don't have to hit a save button or do anything. As soon as the box is checked or unchecked, the system will immediately enact that update to the inventory. The final one is vouchers. Like I said before, vouchers are kind of those hybrids between units and beds. But each voucher will basically have its own button within the system, and basically each voucher will have the little occupancy icons or not. The one thing here about that's different for vouchers than everything else, or when we talked about that whole closed, not closed message or prompt that comes up when putting people in and out of vouchers, instead of putting it actually out in the review screen, there wasn't really a good place to put it. We actually had to put that within the actual setup information. So when you click on the actual voucher, if it's occupied, basically the system will have this unblocked, and it'll basically be checked if it's closed to people and unchecked if it's available for other people. So you basically check and uncheck that box, basically hit the close button, and it'll automatically change it. So it's a way to, again, toggle between the two settings if a mistake was made, or, you know, change of heart, or inventory needs to be opened up for additional people. Okay, now we're going to go into the bed management tools area. This has a fair amount of additional functions outside just the check-in and check-out that are available. We're going to quickly go over them. When clients are currently checked into a bed, basically with the status of checked in, we also allow a little delete box here that can basically remove the inventory item that the client is currently enrolled into. Then, of course, everything's household-based. If you check household members before you hit this delete, it'll happen to them as well. Basically, once you hit it, it'll basically completely take them out of whatever inventory they're currently in and kind of delete the stay like it never happened. Now, as a note, that should only be used when a mistake is made. Say, basically, you put them in the wrong bed and the guy shouldn't have even been there. We kind of developed this feature because we didn't want to make you guys, check them out, check them into another bed, go back and delete that stay. It's basically a process that can be used in real time. However, if they're supposed to just be exited, please use the checkout process. Okay, the other tool that we want, I guess the last bit of the bed management tools, which are pretty in-depth, are within what we call the bed usage history tool. This displays all historical inventory stays for a client within that specific program record. Basically, any inventory stay that a client has a check-in and they've checked out of, whether the program's open, closed, basically remains in this area. Down there, it's basically shut by default. It's got a little show button. If you click on it, it basically opens up this grid area that shows any closed inventory stay with basically the default information of their, check-in, check-out date, their bed type, as well as their bed name. Just provides a lot of useful information, especially if you're having problems with your inventory and you can't get things to match up. This is a good area to look at each client to see, hey, what stays are these people in? Now, along with just being able to review this information, the system allows a process of editing as well as deleting these stays if there's a mistake. So once you basically click on any historical stay, the system will basically load the information into the grid and basically allow you to update or change the check-in or check-out dates. Say you accidentally checked in a person or checked out a person too early or too late and you want to go back and change that date, this is the perfect tool to do that with. Basically, you change the date and you hit save, the information will be updated. Now, at this time, the system doesn't allow you to change any inventory items, so if they're put in the wrong complete inventory item, we actually recommend, you're going to have to delete it and re-enter it. And we'll actually show you that process. We actually have the ability to add stays within this tool as well. But if you do change any kind of inventory stay dates, either the check-in or check-out date, the system will still kind of perform that overlap validation to make sure that, both either the client or the item they are in aren't going to cause any overlaps with what we talked about earlier. Same thing, if it's a mistake, basically you click on the record when it's down there. Instead of editing it, you can basically click to delete. And it'll basically remove it like it never happened. Again, should only be used when a mistake is made. The final option with this is basically an add tool. This process requires the ability to basically enter in a full inventory stay. Now, you don't want to use this tool if you're actually doing real-time stays, like, you're putting a person into a bed, because you need to know both the check-in and the checkout date to use this tool. And it's actually, as we talked about in the past, about the real-time stuff, most of all, the whole entire interface is built on real-time entry. So if you're looking to do any kind of backfill of data, say you forgot to put a person in a bed 2 months ago or, 3 weeks ago, this is the tool that you want to use. Because if my kind of rule of thumb is anytime you know the full stay, don't use the regular interface. Come and use this tool. It'll be quicker and easier for everybody. Basically, when you start, it basically has both the dates, and enter in both of them, and just simply hit the add button. And what it'll do is basically open up a process to basically kind of just exactly like the detailed process that we talked about during enrollment, as well as the standalone check-in. That'll prompt you for bed type, as well as the different inventory items. The interface is dynamic based on all those. Now, it uses the same kind of rules where it'll dynamically look at the inventory range that you put in and it'll only provide you with inventory types and the items that are vacant during those time frames. That's kind of why we asked for both dates. And we didn't want you to kind of sit there and put in 2 dates and go, I want to put them in bed 4, oh, it's filled. Bed 5, oh, it's filled. That way it kind of shortens that list so you know exactly what process or what inventory item to put them into. Okay, the last thing we want to talk about before we take a quick break here is some of the new inventory reporting in the system. Developed about 3 different inventory reports that are going to be really helpful to use during once inventory really starts get using. The first one's called the Housing Inventory Chart, which is basically the HIC. It's basically reports inventory information. It's basically designed to directly off HUD's defined standards for that report. It's kind of more of a managerial COC-based kind of report, but it is there. The Inventory Details Report is also more of a setup configuration report. Basically provides you with all the inventory items you've configured and entered for your specific agency, site, program, inventory, a bunch of filters with it. So we kind of recommend you running it, you know, after you've done setup to make sure everything looks good. The last one is the inventory usage, and that's probably going to be the one that's used the most. And that actually provides information on actual client stays within inventory. As I said before, these reports have a ton of different filters. You can filter by, you know, program, site, inventory, bed type, availability, status, and they also provide with manually enterable date ranges. So you can get a lot of information, whether you just want to see, you know, run the usage report for the current day so you can get your current usage, see who's in beds right now, or for the past year. And it basically will show every inventory item and all the historical stays, not just the current ones. And this one's going to be used very much when you're either just looking at your total usage or maybe you're troubleshooting a problem and like you're, my inventory stays don't seem to look up. I think I'm missing something here. This is a great report to print out and use, especially in regards to that bed history tool. So if you're backfilling data or putting in old data that was missed or needs to be corrected, you know, we recommend, you know, print out a usage report, kind of go to this tool and kind of, you know, should provide you the information you need to kind of get everything fixed. Okay, we've come to the first break here. It is about 2:58. We're going to take about a 10-minute break. Come back at about 3:10. We'll go ahead and kick off with referrals. Dan will start that off with a couple collaborative processes, and we'll go ahead and answer any questions that have been asked. See you in about 10 minutes.
Hey, Margaret, we see your hands raised. Go ahead with your question.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I don't really have a question. I typed in, I wasn't sure. Diane Brakovich is also attending with me in the same room.
Okay.
Gotcha, we got it.
Thanks.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're going to get started again here. Brian is much better at sticking to the script than I am. Next 3 slides I'm just going to kind of talk about, and he can generally forward the slides as we go along. But there's a couple key concepts that we want to make sure people understand. Moving forward here, And unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about coordinated or centralized intake by now. HUD is requiring it for emergency solution grant and continuum of care programs. And, I mean, they gave us some time to get it in, but we needed to be able to get certain functionality in the systems, kind of a baseline with which to begin working with you guys on the ground, your communities, your COCs, to design something that will either work custom just for your COC or something that we can use across the board. One of these concepts that coordinated or centralized intake won't work without is if you cannot enroll a client into the HMIS system unless they're homeless. So that's part of you know, from the previous training, the core features. You now have the ability to enroll clients into the system even if they're not homeless. And the idea behind this is so you can collect general assessment information that's not tied to a program stay. The second concept, and these are the kind of next two features that Brian's going to talk about, are referrals and along with that, wait lists. And the idea is what good is getting clients into the system if you can't do something with them or pass that information along. And so the concept here is that you should be able to take this information and electronically pass it to other agencies. Now, we understand, I guess the next slide is your kind of caveat slide, Brian, is that this is kind of the baseline. This is the functionality, I don't know, what am I trying to say, the foundation, if you will, for building coordinated assessment into PHMIS. It's going to take a lot of feedback from the communities and a lot of kind of co-design from all of us to figure out what exactly we need to collect to work well together. So we understand that these next two features probably won't be used very heavily, if at all, right at the beginning. And that's okay. If you feel like you need to be scared of this functionality, that's certainly okay. But it's there in case you want to start using it or want to start playing with it. What else did I want to say here? But you probably should not use it until your COC gives the go-ahead. You certainly may, but it won't be as useful as it's going to be down the road. Also, there's a couple other things. Collaborative referral groups, these are things that we're going to work with your HMIS leads and agency managers to set up. They're not something that's set up in the system yet. It's functionality that's built in. But basically, we have kind of two different types of groups. We have the entire HMIS system you could refer to, which is hundreds and hundreds of agencies. Or, especially around the concept of centralized intake, we figured that there were probably going to be people who were just going to be referring to the same agencies over and over. So we created these collaborative referral group ability that we could set up agencies who work closely together, who have agreements in place. We could set these agencies up to work together down the road, and you could use solely those referral groups if you want. However, they're not in the system. The actual agencies that are participating together are not tied together yet. The other thing is there's a new thing the agency managers are going to be able to do in their setup screens. Caseworkers will not have access to this, but agency managers, because of this referral process, we recognize that certain agencies are not going to have certain program types that they offer. And with the interest of everybody playing in the same sandbox and having the best information as possible, we gave agency managers a way to designate what types of programs they will accept referrals to, or what type of programs do they offer, so that we could dynamically build in the referral tool kind of real-time information so that you're not referring to an agency that's just going to turn around and reject you. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Now that we've got some background on it, basic ideas and everything, we're going to kind of show you our base functions in the system. Like Dan said, probably not going to be used right off the bat, but we at least want to give everybody an idea of how they work, and we're going to work with everybody to make sure they're as efficient as possible. Within each client, there is basically, we added a referral waitlist tab that basically allows for the unlimited access of sending referrals for clients to other agencies. Referrals are considered transactional, and as is with other things in the system, we've also included the ability not just to send one client at a time, but also to send an entire household with a referral, and they are all together in a single transaction, either a referral transaction or, as you'll see, a waitlist transaction. It's not something that you can break out, so it's not something that you can, oh, well, I got 4 people in a referral, I want to accept 2 of them and decline the other 2. Just make sure everybody understands it's all transactionally based, how it's stored and everything in the system. And as you can see here, basically, for each client, and this is kind of the main central point where you're going to be creating transactions, where you're going to be creating outgoing referrals, as well as you'll see here, this is where you're going to be creating waitlist requests within the system. Now, some requirements for creating a referral. As I said before, basically, unlimited access. Every user is going to have, as of right now, every user has access to the referral functionality. And basically, there's only 2 main data collection requirements to sending a referral. It's basically a client has to have a client profile in the system, which basically means they just have to have a name, and of course, the agency they're assigned to, as well as we do require a client to have an initial domestic violence assessment completed before sending a referral, because again, if they're a domestic violence client, we want to have to enact specific security protocols to make sure their data is as safe as possible. But once those 2 things are done, basically that client can be sent. Of course, if it only contains a name, might not be very useful to the accepting agency, but at this point in time, we will accept it. Basically, accepted referrals, what information gets transferred. Right now, it transfers, if it gets accepted, is all current client profile information that we kind of went over in the core training class, as well as any completed assessment that was collected within the last 30 days. So that information, as much as you keep it up to date, whatever assessments are added, as Dan said, kind of shifting the system to collect data on a client basis outside of the HUD-specific program types will be very useful when doing central intake and once this referral stuff gets off the ground. Now, please note, global data sharing policies, they are not required before sending any referral. Of course, you need them before you do any program enrollment, but it is not required before you do a referral, because some intakes may just take a name, some contact information, basic information. They're not going to be there to sign a client consent form, so we're not going to require that. However, if you're just sending a referral to just another agency in the system, basically only profile and assessments will go. However, once the collaborative referral groups are set up and agreements and policies are in place, we will allow those agency groups to share global sharing policies as well. Now, once you go into the outgoing referral tab, there's basically 3 basic sections it's broken up into. There's the Start Referral button, basically that starts the referral process, and we'll actually most of the class is going to be on that process. There's Pending Referrals, as well as the, I guess what we call historical transactions. All the pending ones are the ones that are currently being, that have sent out to other agencies, and you're awaiting responses for them to be processed. Then there's, of course, any referral that's been sent, either accepted, rejected. We kind of keep a little history there for that specific client, and they'll basically both be shown in each grid. Now, once you select the actual, as we show here, once you basically click the Start Referral, kind of following along the whole process-based thing, it'll kind of start the process of creating a referral for that specific client. The first step is 4 basic data elements that need to be collected. 3 of them are required. The first one is the referring site location. Basically, it provides a list of all the sites from which the user has access to administer services or even send referrals from. And it basically provides a kind of a starting place physical-wise, like setup location-wise, from where the clients are coming from. referral type, now that can come in one of 3 flavors, depending on the type of needs the client has, and it's basically housing only, services only, and housing and services. So it provides 3 different general overview of what they need, and depending on the selection, kind of the rest of the remaining selections and options in the referral are based off those initial needs. The next one is the program type. Basically, we have a listing of all the program types in the system, such as, shelters, emergency shelter, permanent supportive housing, service-only programs. Now, depending on your referral type, the system will basically filter and provide you program types based on that. If it's housing only, you basically get housing program types. Services only, you get service program types, and if it's kind of the housing and services, the clients need both, it'll give you all of them. And basically, the system will allow you to select specific program types for the client's needs. And I'll kind of show you the next slide here. Basically, what the program type is supposed to represent is not only, the referral types of general category. This kind of says, hey, I know this client needs permanent housing, or he needs services only, or a VASH voucher, whatever it is. You can go ahead and add them there. It's one of those things where you can add 1 program type, you can add 5 program types. It's up to you. Or if you're not sure of the client's exact needs, you can leave it blank. It's kind of an optional thing at this point in time. Now, to basically add it, it's kind of a simple little drop-down. You pick all the drop-downs, you hit the plus button, and it basically gets added to this grid here. If you accidentally add one, you want to remove it, you basically check this box, hit the minus sign, and that's how you remove them. So it's a pretty easy process of adding and removing those program types. Now, the last selection is the agency selection, and this element is the actual partner agency or organization that the referral is actually who the clients are going to be sent to and whom they're requesting services for the included clients. Now, the agency list is both dynamically built off both, the referral type as well as the program type. As Dan kind of said, we're trying to put processes in the system to allow the system to kind of lead users to the most efficient place where they can actually, the clients can receive help. So depending on your program types and depending on what we talked about, that's why we kind of had to talk about both the collaborative agencies as well as the referral acceptance types. Within this drop-down, the system will only provide agencies that specifically meet the program types that were selected. So if, depending on your, if you don't add any program types, basically the system gives you every agency in the system. However, as you add more, say these clients need permanent supportive housing and SSO services. Now that'll probably trim that list way down because there's probably a lot of smaller subset of agencies that, both provide those program types and accept referrals from those program types. So it's one of those things, so if you add like 5 or 6 program types, odds are there's probably not going to be an agency that's going to match, so you might get 0 on the list, and you might have to pare back that list until, kind of work with the referral until you find the agency you want. Now, with the collaborating agencies, it basically allows a little checkbox, and if your agency eventually becomes part of a collaborating agency, it will be defaultly turned on. And basically, instead of seeing the entire agency list throughout the whole system, which Dan said, there's hundreds of agencies, it'll basically start and only give you the agencies within your collaborating ones, and you could be in more than one collaborating group that meets the previous program type filter. So we have a whole bunch of these smart options in the system that basically collect the client's needs and hopefully will smartly lead you to the best optimal agency in the system that can help these clients. Now, once that's all done, you basically hit next or continue, and the system actually goes into the next stage, which is kind of a combination stage of household selection plus what we call a data quality grid, which we'll show in the next slide. And basically, any current household member is going to be shown on the screen, and they actually are going to be checked by default. We figured that most referral transactions are going to be more household-based than client, individual-based. If you don't want to include a specific member, you basically uncheck them. Pretty straightforward to using that. Now, one thing here is multiple open referrals. The system, as of right now, doesn't allow the same client to have more than one open referral to the same agency. We just didn't think that having, since referrals can have multiple service requests on them, we didn't feel like having, a bunch of open referrals for the same client would be of the most interest. But so basically, the agency needs to process that referral before a new one can be sent. So if a client already has one sent to that agency, it basically won't allow the process to continue, as well as any household members. So basically, it's got filtering in there. So if it doesn't allow you to do that, it probably has an open one.
You can edit your referrals, though. Bring that up.
Yeah. Along with this household selection, it's kind of like the same screen here. What we have is what we call a data quality, our referral data quality scorecard. And it basically, all included clients provides kind of a quick snapshot of all the data that's currently collected for this client. And as you check and uncheck household members, basically they'll come and go on the data quality scorecard. It's basically built dynamically. And as you can see, each included client has their name and their age, plus 3 different data quality sets, basically the client profile percentage, the contact information, as well as included assessments. Now, the client profile percentage provides, we determined there to be 7 main data profile information data sets, date of birth, gender, ethnicity, veteran status, that sort of thing, that it provides a score on. If you've got all 7 of them, you get 100%. But as different ones are missing, basically the percentage will go down. Contact information basically provides information, doesn't provide the actual phone number or email address, but it just shows which clients have it. And it can be either phone and email, or a none section. The last one is assessments included. And as we said before, basically when a referral is accepted, any assessment collected within the last 30 days will be copied over. This basically shows any assessment that has met that specific threshold. So this is a good way to, before you send the referral, to kind of, give you a little snapshot of, hey, this is the data that's going to be, sent to that receiving agency. Now, not only will the sending agency get this, but the receiving agency will also receive this. Now, depending on whatever local agreements you may have of, certain data collection, data quality standards, this is kind of be a little tool, and we'll probably, can add to it or change to it as we get feedback of what certain people need. So the odds of you sending a referral that has kind of bad data increases the chances of, they have 2 options. They could even send it back to request more client data, or even outright reject it if it's got pretty low data quality scores. Once that's done, once you're selected the household, happy with the data, you go ahead and hit continue again, and the system will open up the screen again, and you'll have about 4 more data elements to fill out. 2 of them are optional, 2 of them are required. The next ones are basically the staff member, priority level referral source, and also a section for referral notes. With the staff member, and this is an optional field, basically what it does is it provides all the active members available at the agency you're sending the referral to. So if in a situation, hey, I'm sending it specifically to this person, I know, I've been working with them, I know they're going to deal with that, we definitely recommend you to select it. Now, if it's one of those general type referrals where, well, I just know they're going to this agency, you can leave it on the default of all agency staff, and basically the system will kind of broadcast that referral to everybody at the agency, and it'll kind of become like a first-come, first-served thing. The first agency client that sees it, picks it up, kind of becomes theirs. The priority level basically denotes the urgency level, priority of the referral itself. Comes in 3 flavors, high, medium, and low. Please use your best judgment for that. And also we've enacted a email notification system with these referrals, and based on this setting, it'll basically change the time frame and also the number of email notifications sent. Referral source, and we'll talk about that email stuff a little bit at the end of this section. Referral source is basically a drop down of all predefined list of where the referral came from, Could be emergency shelter staff or hospital staff. It's got a whole bunch of selections. The last one is referral notes. That is optional. You don't have to fill it in, but it provides a little text box. We do recommend, especially if you're just sending it to like a generalized referral, to type in, some information about the clients, what they're looking for. Just will help the receiving agency know what's coming down the pike. Now, depending on the referral type selected, the process differs on different service requests that you can add to the actual referral after all those data elements are done. And they're kind of broken into two major categories. Referrals are either service-based, and that provides for the request of like support services, and it allows for some optional features there, like requesting a site location or even a waitlist request. And then there's the housing-based referrals, in which the clients are looking for housing. And when that's selected, it basically requires the clients to either be placed in a placed in a reservation or be put on a waitlist request. So you basically need to do something to work, try to get those clients housing before you send the referral itself. We'll kind of break those down coming up next and kind of start with the service-based referrals. Now, any referral with a referral type, and depending on the referral type is kind of which way the next part of the referral goes. Any referral type of services only, which basically denotes, hey, it's only a service-based referral, no housing is included. You have the ability and it's an optional ability, to select which site to actually send those included clients. The system will basically provide you a little grid of all the program types, programs, and site locations that that specific agency provides. What you can do is click on an individual record, and you can do them one at a time. And what it does is it enables what we call a site info button. So what it does is when you click that site info button, it basically brings up a whole bunch of information about that site. Site type, housing type, contact information, address information, and you can kind of go through them one at a time to see what the best location information it has, possibly for those clients. Again, this is an optional step. This doesn't need to be needed, but it can help increase the potency of the referral. If you want to accept a specific site, you basically click on it, hit accept, and then that location will be attached to that referral. Now, for housing-based referrals, it gets a little bit, kind of takes two different avenues there. As we said before, housing-based referrals require either a reservation or a waitlist request to accompany the transaction. And a referral that's housing-based has a referral type of either housing only or housing and services. Basically, the housing always, the housing needs always trumps, always takes precedence over that. And we'll kind of start with the reservation part. Whenever you go into a housing-based referral, the system will basically provide you with all the inventory records that are available at that agency. Basically shows the program type, program name, site. Then it kind of provides a breakdown based on the three different inventory types we have, beds, units, and vouchers. It shows the total number that they have, plus the open or vacant inventory that they have as well. And this is kind of one of the reasons we kind of said real-time during the inventory stuff, because once referral gets off the ground, unless inventory is kind of done on at least a daily basis, so that when this information is broadcasted out during referrals, it's not going to be very useful. Now, for those inventory records that have no open beds, they're just going to be shown like this transitional program has 5 beds and 4 units, but currently they say there's none that are open or vacant. It'll just be colored in gray. However, those inventory records that have open occupancy in any one of these inventory items will be colored in green, and hopefully that'll those are the ones that you want to kind of draw your attention to. Now, as with kind of the site locations, you can actually click on each one of those inventory records, and you can only do it one at a time. It's basically a one shot at a time. It'll kind of color it in yellow and say, hey, this is the record I'm on. And basically it opens up 2 different options. There's basically a view inventory option and what we call a site info reservation option. Now, the view inventory option is basically it's a review screen. Like if you click that button, basically the system in a new window will load the review screen of that inventory. You know, the one we basically talked about that basically will show all available inventory. Also the statuses, it's got the little icons of who's in it, who's not, can provide a lot of good information for that inventory. Now, the Site Info Reservations button basically provides two things. A, it provides the site information for that, where that inventory is located. You know, pretty much the same information, address, phone number, site type, house type, as well as if that inventory has open available beds, units, or vouchers, it basically provides a reservation tool for which you can kind of give those clients a soft reservation when sending over that referral. Now, for that reservation tool, it requires each client to be assigned to their own inventory item before allowing the reservation to be finalized. Currently, the system doesn't allow for any partial reservations. So if you have 3 clients associated to the referral, it won't allow you to send the referral if only 2 of them are assigned a reservation. So it's kind of an all or nothing thing with reservations. Also, a couple other rules with reservations, you're not allowed to split them up between records, meaning you can't send one person to a transitional housing inventory site and another person to a permanent supportive housing site. You need to, it all has to be done within one inventory record, basically to avoid confusion, keep all the clients together. The last rule is within the inventory types, when you finally found an inventory record that looks like it supports the demands for these clients included, all the clients can only be placed into a single inventory type. So basically all of them need to be put into beds, or all of them into units, or all of them into a voucher. There can't be a mismatch where you put one guy in a bed and one guy in a voucher. At this point in time, it's an all or nothing thing, or all or nothing thing. How it kind of works is there's basically a nice selection list here where the first thing that needs to be selected is the inventory type, and the system, of course, smartly dynamically builds these based on what's available within that inventory. When you associate the first, bed, unit, or voucher, whichever person you select first, since they all need to be the same type, the system automatically will fill it into the others. Then depending on what type you choose, you might have to fill in 1 more or 2 more data elements. If it's a bed or voucher, since that's just a single item, basically you need to put each individual person into either that bed or the voucher that they're looking for. If it's a unit, basically you need to select the unit and then the bed in the unit that you want to actually reserve for these clients. Now, although that we allow only a single inventory type, you are allowed to mismatch. While beds, of course, they all need to be in different beds, but you can mismatch vouchers as well as units if you so need to at least secure these reservations for these clients. One last thing is with the once you've finally, finalized the process and you got everybody in an inventory item, basically you just need to click the reserve button. And at that point in time, the system will automatically reserve those beds within that agency's inventory. You don't need to wait until the referral's done. We want this to be as real-time a process as possible so that, other people doing referrals don't accidentally, see that inventory is open and maybe try to grab it. But one note about these reservations they are what we call as soft reservations. Kind of just puts a hold on those items so that other agencies looking for referrals don't grab them as well or try to put clients into them. Ultimately, it doesn't mean, those clients are definitely going to get those beds at that agency. Ultimately, the reservations still are controlled by that receiving agency. Now, they might accept the clients and, hey, put those people into the beds they reserve. However, if something happens and the clients arrive late, or they have additional clients come into the agency and they need to use them, they can overwrite those reservations. So basically, like I said, all the control is on the receiving agency. We want to make sure everybody kind of understands that process. Now, the system also allows clients to be associated to what we call a waitlist request. Now, waitlist requests can be used not only for housing-based referrals, but also service-based referrals as well. Now, for the housing-based, if there's a certain circumstance where, a reservation can't be had, you can't find any open inventory, but you want to send them to that agency, or they might have open inventory, but the situation just doesn't, they need to be put into a unit, but it just doesn't meet there. You do need to, at the very least, add them to what we call a waitlist request when sending that referral. And basically, simply, you just click this Add to Waitlist button, and then the system will basically begin the process of creating that waitlist transaction. A lot of some of the information already collected in the referral will be used for this waitlist transaction. So these are kind of additional elements that also need to be collected for these clients. And it involves the waitlist priority, which basically makes up, there's about 7 different priorities you can give them. It goes from anywhere from high, all the way down to very low. That basically it's kind of shows the urgency of their specific needs. The client's overall housing status. Basically, it's the same defined list as when enrolling clients into programs. The add to waitlist date. This is the date that they should be added to the waitlist. The system actually always defaults to the current date, but you can change that if you feel it's needed. And then there's 2 contact information fields. These are basically kind of just blank text fields that allows you to kind of freehand in any contact information. The system requires at least 1 set of contact information to be put in. The secondary alternate is optional to do that. Now, once all that information is in, basically all you have to do is hit Add to Waitlist, and basically the system will create that waitlist transaction and associate it to the referral. Now, one thing to note that it is just that's why I keep saying waitlist request. We don't actually add these clients to that other agency's waitlist. Again, it's all under the control of the receiving agency. Once they receive the referral, they'll have some options that we'll show you during the incoming referral process, and they are under the control of actually, maybe they want to accept them and roll them right into some inventory or right into a program. There's no need. They can override that, or they need to specifically put them on the wait list. So again, it's just a request. At this point in time, once those information are fulfilled, depending on the requirements of a service or housing-based referral, basically the refer button at the bottom of the screen needs to be selected, and it's kind of got smart logic that it'll only become available once all the requirements are met. Once you click that, the system will basically, we always ask that you look for a little confirmation message. They'll both be at the top or the bottom of the screen. That basically says, hey, the referral for, it'll include all the included clients, has been sent. Once you get this kind of confirmation message, you can feel pretty comfortable that the referral was sent and the agency should receive it. Another feature that we have in it is called what we call like a printable version. Any created referral, whether it's just recently sent or whether it is an existing referral, we'll have this option at the bottom of the screen, and you can just click on it, and it'll basically load a new screen that basically provides you with a nice printable format that you can either use for your own records or you can provide to the clients themselves. You can say, here's your referral, here's the site information, contact information, and kind of give them a little bit of information about where they're going as well. Before we get into the incoming referrals, there are a couple outgoing referral functions. Once a referral is sent, that can be performed from the sending agency. When they go into an existing referral, there's suspend referral and cancel referral. And basically, these are only options, like I said, on the sending agency side. Basically, the cancel option, when you select it, what it'll do is it permanently cancels the referral. Basically, kind of retires it. And it could be used if the referral was mistakenly sent, or maybe the client, the referral hasn't been answered, the receiving agency hasn't returned any, accepted it, and you found other ways to help the client, you can use that option. The other one is suspend, and what that does is it doesn't cancel the referral, but it kind of temporarily freezes it, kind of puts it on hiatus, so that the receiving agency can't really accept it or do anything, but it does still stay in everybody's queue. We kind of developed this feature for certain instances where maybe you send the referral and you realize, ooh, I forgot to add these assessments to these clients, and you don't want the receiving agency to download or import the client, so you can quickly suspend it, add whatever data, you need to the client, and then go on your way. And just note, these options are only available once you send it on, if the receiving client agency hasn't done anything with it. Now, if the receiving agency accepts it or does whatever with it, that's, you need to get to it before that point. All right, referral access, all outgoing referrals can be tracked within each client profile, as we showed you within that outgoing referrals tab. Every referral sent for a specific client will be there. But we also kind of developed a generalized referral section that's available to all users, and it's right directly on the start page. By clicking on it, basically provides two tabs, basically, one for outgoing referrals, one for incoming referrals, and each of them are broken up into the pending and the history, so you always have the referrals that you sent there. The pending ones are always in the powder blue, kind of right there in your face, and shows information about the referral, the type, as well as the status, so you can keep tabs on it. And also when we show you the incoming one, how do you accept incoming one? So it's a good place to be. Now we're going to kind of switch gears here. Now that we kind of know how to send an outgoing referral, kind of change gears to the incoming ones. Once a referral's been sent, basically the agencies need to locate and access these referral tools located on each user's action menu. Basically, once you go into the incoming session, you'll basically have the same pending and historical transactions. Of course, any pending ones should be looked at, reviewed as soon as possible. Now, within this area, there's basically a filter. Now, by default, when you go into this area, it's basically turned on to user. So basically, whoever you are, basically, when you look at the screen, it's going to show you all your transactions that are just yours. So ones that are just sent directly to you or ones you've picked up, that's going to be there. Now, there is also a filter for agency-based transactions that you can flip to kind of see, everybody's all the referrals to the agency. It can be useful, say someone calls up and says, hey, I sent a referral to someone and they haven't received it, and you go, oh, well, that person was on vacation or something like that, so that everybody still has the ability, so referrals aren't lost in the system. Now, the referral record that I showed consists of, the ID, who it was sent from, household information such as the name, the size, the type, what kind of referral it is, as well as when it was sent, as well as the pending status. Now, basically to load a referral, whether it's outgoing or incoming, you basically just click on the record, kind of how all the record works in the entire system, and it basically shows you all the information that was related to it. Shows things, such as referral type, what program types are assigned to it. It's got a little information section here that shows who it was sent from, when, and what staff actually sent the referral. Kind of provides information that should provide some kind of determination to what the appropriate action is. You need to review it a little bit. Do you have space for them if it's a pending reservation or something, because it also shows all that kind of information, whether it's a site location, wait list request, that sort of thing. And it also has got a number of actions. As you see here, there's 5 separate actions that can be done to process that specific referral, and we'll kind of get into those in a couple of slides. But as we said before, not only do sending agencies see the data quality scorecard, but so can the receiving agencies to kind of get a glimpse of, hey, if I accept this referral, what kind of data am I importing into my agency? Basically, you click on this button, and it'll open up, show and hide, and it basically shows, the 3 basic information for, categories that all the included clients have. Pretty good information there. Also, within the referral records themselves, it provides a kind of a little forewarning if it's a housing-only referral, what kind of referral it is. Because housing, they either have to have reservations or a wait list request. For those, they'll have a little R and a little W by them. Kind of gives a little precursor to when, what kind of referral you're looking at, what kind of service request is coming in from those clients. Now, once kind of have an idea what you're going to do with it, they included information in it. Probably want to look over the referral notes as well to see what kind of, additional information has been added to it. There's 5 distinct actions that can be used to process an incoming referral. Two of the acceptance options are below, is basically accept referral as well as accept referral and enroll. The accept referral, this action sets the referral basically to accepted, kind of closes it out, and all it does is, what it does is it imports the included clients into your agency. Basically a nice, easy step. Now, the accept referral and enroll kind of does the same thing, sets to accepted, imports the clients, but what it also does is it takes the user directly to the program enrollment screen, basically of one of the clients in the referral, and basically provides you an option to, all right, I want to import these clients and put them right into a program. So it's kind of a nice seamless process there. But please note that this is only available for those collaborative referral group referrals because unless a global data sharing policy is copied over, there's no real need to take you directly to the enrollment screen, only to have you kind of stopped from, having to recollect the global data sharing information. Now, please note that when enacting either of these acceptance functions, any referral that contains a waitlist request will not be processed. So if it's got a waitlist request on it, we'll actually show you there's another accept that's basically accept and add to waitlist. It'll basically be ignored. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of what these two accept functions do. Now, the next one, as we said, is basically accept referral and add to waitlist. This action, puts the referral accepted, imports the clients, and also creates a waitlist transaction. Now, there's two different features it does. Now, if the referral already includes a waitlist request, it basically just imports the clients and bam, it's already collected the information during the referral. It'll automatically just create a transaction, put it on your agency's waitlist. However, if the referral doesn't currently have a waitlist request, the system allows you to create one on the fly. So maybe they come in and maybe they have a soft reservation, or it's a service-based request and you can't fulfill it. You basically can use this option to put them on the waitlist on the fly. And when using this option, it'll basically import the client, set it to accepted, and it'll take you to actually the waitlist creation screen, where basically it'll ask for those additional data elements, like waitlist priority, housing status, add to waitlist date. Once you fill out that information, then the waitlist transaction will be created. We do mention that for any referral that does contain a waitlist request, we do recommend using this feature, to at least put them on the waitlist, unless there's some immediate action that you can do. If you're like, well, I know I can, put them directly in a program if it's service-based, or I know I can put them directly in the inventory, then you can bypass the waitlist. But in any other circumstances, we do recommend taking a look at, putting them directly on the waitlist. All right, there's two more actions that can be done. Basically, request more data as well as reject the referral. When the client's, the transaction comes in for whatever reason, that's why we have those data quality scorecards. If they're deficient, the system allows the receiving agency to basically set the referral to request more data. Basically, what that does is it sets it back to the sending agency with this status. And basically it does require the user to add in some receiving notes. You should put in, hey, client one should, have this assessment or that assessment. Basically a way to not reject it, but basically ask the sending agency for more information. Now with the request more data, if you do set it to that, as well as the suspended status, I forgot to mention that during that. Those are kind of like almost like not directly acceptance or cancels. Basically, they're intermediate processes asking for more information. If either of these statuses are set, the system kind of keeps track of them, and if they're not answered or set back to pending within 8 days, the system will automatically cancel them. And we'll talk a little bit about that you'll get email notifications about this so that you're not just blind and it just doesn't cancel it on you. Reject referral is basically what it is. It rejects the referral outright, effectively cancels the transaction. Could be because you don't have any place to put the clients, or maybe, you know, it accidentally got sent to you incorrectly. So those are basically the 5 features of what you can do with those referrals when they come in. Now, what happens when you do accept the referral? Basically, all the included clients are imported in the receiving agency. All relevant profile data, assessment data, as well as possible data sharing policies are pulled right in. Now, during this process, the system does go through a number of client duplication checks, almost like, you know, when you're creating a new client in your agency or globally importing somebody into your agency. The system checks clients and households to see if there's any duplicates in the system. If there are any found, what it tries to do is either merge them, or it possibly could flag them as a possible or full match. Now, due to the referral import process, expected frequency, once it gets off the ground, we can see, especially the collaborative referral groups, kind of sending a lot of the same clients back and forth between each other. We really tried to put a lot of intelligent and precise logic in there to really try to recognize, you know, the system should recognize, hey, you know, I've seen that client before. He's been in a referral that you sent before. He's the same guy that's in the agency, to allow for even smarter duplicate merging logic, so there's not a lot of, you know, same guy keeps being referred to your agency and you have to keep merging them after the fact. So we hope that logic in there will make things a lot better, especially once this referral process gets off the ground. Now, one last thing that it does is kind of, I don't know, a better term for it, I kind of call it our household straggler rule, and it basically, along with the, you know, being smart enough to determine who's been sent in referrals before between 2 agencies, if the system identifies any client that is part of a household that's already been sent before, the system will recognize that and kind of prompt the user to determine, you know, hey, we noticed that, you know, you had some other household members that were referred over earlier. Now you're coming over. Do you want to be put with that same household that you were with from your sending agency, or do you want to be put into a new household? So it kind of provides smart logic with that. If that comes up before the, you know, import process can finish, you'll kind of get a little screen here with a little feature here, and it basically will show all the households and the household members of the current, you know, households in the accepting agency that has the same members. And you can either select that agency or select that household to add that client to that household, or if you kind of make the decision of, no, you know, they may have been the same household in that other agency, but I know I want to treat them separately in this one, you can go ahead and click Create New Household, and it'll put them in their own household. Again, this is one of those things that we kind of just identify, and we need your help to make the correct decision on what we should do with that data. Referral notifications. HMIS has implemented an email notification system that sends out emails to agency users, both when referrals are created, also when referrals are changed to statuses that require user attention. Basically, those suspended and request more data. Any new referral that's sent out, depending on their priority level, kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, you know, whether it's high, low, or medium. The system will send out an initial email, and also reminder emails might escalate to agency manager, and the time frames and the lengths and everything that you get will depend on the priority. If it's a high priority, you'll get more emails, you know, in a quicker time. If it's low, you'll probably get them a little bit later. Now, same thing with the suspended or request more data. Anytime those statuses are set, the system will basically send out an initial email, and until those referrals are dealt with, processed, the system will keep sending emails to kind of remind you, saying, hey, you know, got a referral out there that needs attention. You know, however, if you accept it or reject it or whatever, the emails will stop because there's no need to send out reminders. Now, if referrals go untouched for a predefined time period, depending on, you know, their status, the system will automatically cancel these referrals and any, you know, reservations they may have, depending on the priority level between an 8 and 10-day time frame, depending on the scenario. Now, you will get a cancel email that kind of basically says, hey, you know, it's kind of been sitting out there for a long time, we're going to cancel it. So just be aware of these options. Now, along with this email process, We want to try to collect the best possible contact information there is, especially even with the basic notifications we send out, you know, the mailers for the trainings and everything. What we have to use in the system is basically the email address associated with your account. Now, a lot of times, probably half of them are good email addresses, but because of the way we use a third-party PA PowerPoint system, we do have a lot of users that aren't using their primary email address. You know, they had to make up a Gmail account or a Hotmail account to basically get registered with the system. So what we're going to do is basically add a contact email address field that's basically unrelated to any kind of account information or registration process that you can go in and fill in with your email address that you would prefer to be your primary contact. Now, if your account email address is the one you want to send to, you don't need to do anything. However, it's not. We do recommend you go in, fill it out, save your profile, because what we're going to do is the referral emails, and we're also, once these contacts start getting filled in, we're going to start building our contact list off basically a combination of these two. And what we're going to do is first look at this contact email address. If it's filled out, we're going to assume that's your primary, and we're going to use that one. However, if it's you know, left blank, then we're going to go back to the old system and use your current account information. So we hope that you know, helps bouncing emails and everybody getting the information that they need. Okay, that is going to be our second break. When we come back, we are going to finish up with the agency wait list. Probably got about 25, actually it's only about 15 slides, so we're almost done. Go ahead, we're going to go ahead and take a break for about 10 minutes. Meet back here at about 4:15. Hopefully we won't keep you longer than 30 minutes out of there. After that, hopefully get you out of here by about 4:45, and we'll go ahead and have a Q&A session now. Thanks.
All right, so we have a question here about how referrals work as far as being required to accept them or not. Currently in the system, PHMIS, or I guess I should say after the 12th, the system will not require you to accept referrals. That's more of a decision that's that your COC has to make, or your collaborative groups, as far as whether or not agencies are going to be required. Right now, kind of some of the tools we've given, if you remember what when Brian was talking about that referral data quality, that's a quick snapshot for you to see the level of information that was collected before passing the referral to you. That's like a quick snapshot before you even accept the referral. Secondly, there was a concern that one of the questions here, that if you accept a referral, you'd have to also put them in housing, and that's not the case. If you accept the referral, that literally is a way for you to copy the information that someone else collected to your agency. You don't have to do anything with that information. You could put them in housing, you could put them on a wait list, but that will give you the opportunity to copy that information and take a look at it, update it if you need to, but you're by no means required to accept the sending agency's choices.
Yeah. And that's why we kind of mentioned that it's a soft reservation, and basically, it's kind of just a placeholder for the sending agency to do, but the decision of what needs to be done with those clients, if anything, is always, at least this point in time, is on the accepting agency's standpoint.
The two main reasons for having a reservation is that, A, if you do a reservation, that inventory will be removed from what is globally viewable by other agencies, so that you're not conflicting for the same beds. Secondly, you're kind of doing the receiving agency a favor if they choose to do the speedy process and enroll people right in beds right away. If you've already selected those beds, they can choose to accept your choices and not have to go through the extra steps of doing the bed enrollments all over again.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started on the final piece of our supplemental training, and it basically covers agency waitlist. The feature was developed to complement our collaborative client referrals features, and also allows agencies to place clients on a local waitlist that are awaiting either housing or services needs to be fulfilled. While a waitlist transaction is associated with referral is requesting the included clients be added to a partner's agency's waitlist, the system also allows for these individual waitlist days to be created and tracked within your own agency locally. Basically, there's two ways. You can add a request to referral, or if someone comes into your specific agency and they need housing or services, you can directly put them on your own waitlist. And the waitlist transaction works just like the referrals. It can contain multiple clients, and we've got multiple tracking features and everything within that. And we're going to kind of show you, how to create one for your own agency, as well as some management features for that. It's kind of a tool to be used for individual agencies as of right now. Now, all waitlist kind of stays. Creation is all within the client, kind of like the outgoing referrals as of right now, under the Add to Waitlist section. And there's a couple, two different features within the section. There's basically a current waitlist stays section that contains any current waitlist transaction that the client has awaiting housing or supportive services. And then directly below that is basically a nice little feature that allows you to create a new waitlist stay. Directly below that, it basically creates a function, of course, includes all household members that the client currently has. You can check and uncheck them to include them in the waitlist transaction. One note is, kind of like with referrals for open transaction, clients can only have one active waitlist request per agency. With the ability, kind of like with waitlist, kind of like with referrals, it can be used as a double duty. If they have multiple service needs, you can kind of attach all of them to a single waitlist stay. And also, as you'll see, a waitlist transaction or needs can change over time, so there's no real need to have multiple stays. Now, directly below the household areas, basically it's kind of an open area that provides the collection of all the waitlist elements that need to be collected. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because almost all of this stuff was gone over during the referral section of it. But when you do a standalone stay, it does ask for a waitlist type, and that's pretty much mirrors what we call a referral type. It has housing only, services only, and housing and services. Basically shows the general direction of the service needs of the clients included. You've got an add program type, basically works exactly the same, kind of filters based on the waitlist type. It is optional. You can add, add 5 program types, add 0 program types. It's up to you, yours. And then the priority housing status, add the waitlist date, and then the contact information pretty much all follow the same rules that we kind of laid out during the referral section. Now, once you're added all in information, entered in your client's service needs, basically just hit the add button, and that's pretty much it. The system will create that waitlist stay for that specific client. The system provides an option to add clients to the waitlist within a residential program's bed management module as well. You can, and this is more of a shortcut. It actually isn't a separate process, but any client that's enrolled in a residential program that's not currently in inventory, basically right next to the check-in date will be an add to waitlist button that can be pretty much used at any time. Now, when you click this button, it basically just takes you to that client's add to waitlist tab on the referrals waitlist screen. So it's more of a basic add to waitlist feature that can pretty much be done there. I think my screen was actually frozen at that time, so I'm going to go back a couple screens so everybody can kind of see what they kind of missed here. You've got your add to waitlist here within the client with the current waitlist stays. Pretty much you add the clients, the household members, and then here's the basic screen that I kind of described that has all the waitlist information for. You basically hit add, that creates the transaction, and within the bed management area, that's where the add to waitlist button is. So also, basically, like I said, a shortcut to begin the process. Now that we know it's pretty simple to create a waitlist stay for clients within your agency, now we're going to kind of go over some management features, if you will. We've created a standalone waitlist kind of screen, management screen, and it's located here in the action menu, basically directly below referrals under your start page menu. And this section here is kind of like your whole client management features, if you will. That's what we're trying to build there up at the top of the action menu. When you click on it, it basically comes in and you've got just one waitlist screen that's got basically all of your current waitlist stays. It's not broken up. There aren't historical stays. We decided not to put them there because we figured once the system starts working, and you guys, especially for those agencies that really start using the wait list, those lists are going to be probably big enough, could have tens, even hundreds of people and clients on those specific transactions. Now, as you can see here, it basically contains a whole lot of data elements to kind of allow users to preview and know what's looking for. It mirrors a lot of that with the referrals, with the type, as well as the program types they're looking for, priorities, household information, housing status, also IDs. And it also shows the basic add to waitlist date. Now, the system basically sorts by default waitlist transactions kind of in reverse chronological order. So the last transaction added basically is the one that gets put at the top of the list. The basic idea is behind that is, the person that you put on last probably should be the closest or next in line to getting services. So it's one of those things where, you probably want to take off the top. But, of course, you can use whatever process that you deem appropriate. Now, within there's a couple sorting or management features. Within each blue column header, like a lot of, for our existing users, within a lot of grids within the system, basically clicking on it basically sorts the information. And you can do that, click on it, it's ascending, re-click on it, it's descending, for things like contact date or add to waitlist date, waitlist ID, to kind of, sort your data. Now, as I said before, because these waitlist lists could get pretty large in size. We use the pagination where, we show about 20 records per page, and could sort out for many, many pages instead of just trying to find a waitlist transaction, that's fourth down on the 17th page of your waitlist. We basically gave you some search options here. Basically, there's a keyword search as well as what we call a program filter. Now, the keyword search, you can put in either an ID, which could correspond either to the waitlist or the referral ID, as well as a household name. Basically, enter that in there. Then there's also a program filter that basically contains all the program types, so you can kind of filter by a single program type. So if you're just looking for emergency shelter people, it'll basically, once you hit search, depending on the criteria you put in, the system will return all the transactions that meet those criteria. And basically, they also work in conjunction. So if you put a household name and a specific program type, it'll actually use both of those criteria when returning results within this grid. Some waitlist stay information. When you click on the record, just like referrals, it basically opens up, shows a whole bunch of information about the clients included. It'll basically has the main blue bar header, shows all the clients attached to it, household information. It also has a little household members grid that basically shows each person, their position, their age, their gender, and any contact information like phone number and email they may have. Pretty good for every included client. As well as you can see here, all the information except for the add to waitlist date is open and editable. We kind of did that because, as I said before, waitlist stays could have multiple service needs in it. And either as certain service needs are met or as service needs change, you can go in here, instead of having to remove the transaction and recreate a whole new one, it's basically almost like a living record that basically, say they may have two service needs, you meet one of them, you can come in here, delete the program type, change the waitlist type, basically change the function to meet the dynamic needs of those clients. Now, also within the waitlist, basically, directly below this area here, we've got something called waitlist contacts. Each waitlist stay affords the ability to enter and track outreach contacts that occur with clients during the stay, and they're also all tracked historically. So anytime you got someone on the wait list and you make contact with them about their services or about their wait list, maybe you haven't talked to them in a couple months, you want to see where they are, they still have those needs, you can record them here in the system. And basically, it takes just two pieces of information. It's basically a contact type, which is basically a predefined list of information as to, how you contact them, as well as what kind of contact connection it was. They've got by phone, by email, in person, a whole bunch of different, about 12 different options there, as well as when the contact date occurred. Once you have those two pieces of information, you hit add, automatically adds them to the list. Basically, you can have one contact, no contacts, 20 contacts, basically a nice way to keep track of the information. It also has a comments field here. It's not required, it's optional, that whatever the contact was about, if you want to add in notes, you can go ahead and do that. Also, you can re-click on the contact, bring it down, edit it, change it around, pretty much do anything you want to update that information or even remove a contact if you put it on the wrong waitlist transaction. This feature is kind of there for you to use for however you think is appropriate. Now, another feature we have within these waitlist contacts is kind of a way to flag or tag a contact as important. So maybe, one of the users at your agency gets off the phone or gets an email from a user and either their needs have changed or something urgent comes up, and you want to enter this contact and basically make other agency users aware of this. Basically, you just go into the contact. It can be a brand new contact or an existing contact, and basically we have this little important notice checkbox that you basically just check. And then when you add it or save it, what it'll do is basically turn records red, this kind of bright red that kind of says, hey, look at me, throughout the system. And not only does it turn the contact red, it turns the entire waitlist stay red. So basically one of those things, if you want to disseminate information throughout the agency that's really important, you can use this feature. Now, it'll stay in this state until someone comes in and actually unchecks this important notice and hits save. You know, it could be something where one user looks at it and goes, oh, well, that's good information, but I think there's other users that still want to do it. They may not turn off the import notice. However, if one of the points and, you know, you're pretty sure that everybody's got the information or someone's going to move on it, basically you just uncheck the box, hit save, and basically the contact note as well as the entire transaction will turn back to its normal gray. As with the referrals, you know, the wait list, we got some functions on the wait list. Basically provide some actions to what you want to do with these clients. There's basically 3 different client actions. 2 of them are available at all times. One of them is dependent on certain conditions of, you know, the clients, programs they're in, and that sort of thing, and we'll talk about that. But the 2 that are available all times are remove from wait list and enroll from wait list. The remove from wait list is basically, when you click that button, it's basically ends that wait list stay. So it moves it historically in the system. It removes it from your current wait list. You know, it could be because it was a mistake. You know, you want to you know, take this wait list off your list and create a new one, or possibly the client's needs have been met. You want to get rid of it. That's a couple options that you can use it for. The enroll from wait list, what it does is basically when you use this option, it'll actually pick the first client on the list and directly take you to the client's program enrollment screen and allow you to pick whatever program enrollment you want to put them in, allow you to pick the household members. You can include all of them or none of them, kind of nice and flexible there. Now, the check-in from wait list is a pretty dynamic feature. Like I said, it's only there under certain circumstances, and those circumstances are that at least one of the clients included in the wait list, A, must be enrolled in a residential program, and B, currently cannot be enrolled in any inventory. Because what it does is basically it provides the ability to check someone into a residential program. So both of those options need to be met from at least one client in the list. So when you select that button, it actually takes you directly to that program record and takes you right down on the bed management module and allows you to do your check-in options. You know, it could be one person, you could add household members, you know, allows you to do what you need to do. Now, we also have the ability to select which program you're going to go to. Now, if there's only one program that meets that basic criteria, it's basically going to be chosen for you. So in this example, you've got the downtown permanent, you know, it's a supportive housing program. When you hit check-in, it basically will take you to do that action. Now, there could be circumstances, because there's multiple clients on the wait list, could have multiple needs, where there's 2 or more programs, you know, residential programs that fit, you know, this specific scenario where they're enrolled but not checked in. The system will actually provide a drop-down of the different programs. So what you'll have to do is select the specific program you want and then hit check-in. And what the system does is it basically looks through the client list, and the first client that meets that criteria in the program not checked in, it'll take you directly to that person's bed management module. So there's some interesting features there to work with people on the wait list. Now, with these wait list transactions, once clients within the wait list stay have been provided with, you know, all their necessary housing services needs, we do recommend that the wait list transaction be removed from your current list. Like I kind of said before, we have a feeling that especially once they start getting used, these agency wait lists could get rather large. And if you leave people on the wait list that already had their service needs met, that could get kind of cumbersome and kind of confusing, where you got you got people on there that actually need services, people on there that have already been met. So we do recommend that once a service need is met, that you do remove it from the wait list so it doesn't clutter up that list. Now, in lieu of that, the systems try to implement some, I guess, intelligent logic to try to help users and agencies keep this list as clean as possible. And there's a couple instances where certain actions in the system with the clients associated with the wait list, that it'll kind of prompt you to say, hey, You know, they'll prompt you, hey, do you want to remove this wait list? It looks like maybe all the actions or needs have been met. Do you want to update this wait list transaction, which basically allows the user to go directly to the wait list and basically, you know, make any changes they want, or ignore, which basically means, oh, I'll deal with it later, let me stay on the same screen I'm on. So those are the three prompts that it has, and depending on the wait list type and the action, you may or may not see this prompt. Now, for service-based waitlist stays, services only waitlist types, the system will prompt the user to, you know, remove, update, or ignore the transaction once all associated clients have been successfully enrolled into a program. That's when it'll prompt. Now, for housing-based waitlist stays, it will prompt the user with the same three choices once all clients have been, A, enrolled into a residential program, and B, have all been checked into inventory. You know, since these waitlist stays can have multiple needs associated, we basically came up with a semi-intelligent way to at least kind of ask the question, hey, are you done with it? But only you, the user, is going to really know the answer to this question. Okay, I think that does it. We just got a couple of housekeeping notes here. As hopefully everybody knows, our website, we got a website, www.newpa.com/PHMIS. It's got a whole bunch of information relating to the system. Can also be reached either by going straight to that browser or within the gold action menu. Actually, New PA Technical Assistance pops up a whole bunch of information, documentation, publication, trainings. Before the system release, or probably neither system release, that's when we're going to put up all the new documentation, client consent forms, agency participation agreements, system user agreements. We'll try to get these trainings up there as soon as possible. We also talked about those feature guides. Tried to go over as much as possible. I think that's why we jam-packed these trainings, and they actually overran. We underestimated how much information we had on those, so we apologize for that, for keeping you guys for so long. But we definitely recommend you taking a look at them. They're broken down into client data entry series. There's 6 of them, housing inventory, collaboration. All of them are anywhere from 5 to 25 pages. There's a whole bunch of information on them. We definitely recommend you taking a look at those. Okay, that does it. If you have any questions about any of the core features, supplemental features, feel free. Contact the help desk. Myself or Steve are available, either through email or phone. And we understand that, you know, with the release having a ton of information in it, we know that's probably going to be a little bit of a learning curve. Please be patient. We try to make all the features intuitive as possible, but Steve and I and Dan as well, we're going to be available all during those 3 weeks. Programmers available as well during those 3 weeks of the release to help everybody. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call, shoot us an email. Hopefully we can take care of the problem. What we're going to go ahead and do is go ahead and check any questions, and then we're going to let everybody go. Always, we thank you for your time for coming, and I appreciate for attending, and have a great day.